Aslema. Welcome everyone. I will be presenting in English. Today we will be talking about web development best practices. What do we keep missing? Hello, my name is Fadwa Midan, but you can call me Dadu, and I'm a coffee maniac. So if you know any nearby coffee shop that has good coffee, please just tell me about it. I would like to experience it. But today we'll be talking about web development and not coffee. I wish if I can talk about coffee, but they will not allow it. So in web development, I would like to talk to you about the 5 rules that I see as essential for any progress of web development. The first rule that I would like to talk about is organization. And without it, you'll be lost and maybe worse. So what do I mean by organization? First, you need to organize your workspace. And by saying workspace, especially your digital workspace, I mean try to keep your folders in a very organized way. Try to keep your comments, your documents, your ideas, your images. Try to always put everything in an organized way so it's easy to access and it's easy to maintain also. And you'll be put in positions where the client would like to have a backup or would like to have certain things. So try to always keep it very so accessible, so you will not be trying to figure out in which folder, in which area of your computer that you just put it. The second thing that I would like to talk about is code. And please keep your code organized. I mean, I would love to see an organized code because it makes me feel a lot better. It makes me feel trying to understand and get everything in the good way. There is 10 commandments of code. The first commandment is dry. Don't repeat yourself. The second one, write short methods. Try to name your methods, your codes, your classes in a very descriptive way. One class or method means one responsibility. Keep your code organized. Keep it in a very good indentation. Keep comments. Keep good spaces. Try to use unit tests as much as possible. Refactor your code so it will be more optimized. Comment the right number. Don't overdo it. Don't overkill it with comments, but it doesn't mean that don't use it at all. But use the right amount of comments. Document your work, and try to have as many as possible of code reviews. Those comments are your life insurance. So always code as if the person who ends up maintaining your code is a violent psychopath who knows where you live. And Jose is right. I mean, when I see a messed up code, I feel like I feel headaches, and I feel stomach aches, and I feel like I want to punch someone in the nose, and it's really frustrating. So try to keep your code organized, for the sake of the people who's going to maintain it, and also for yourself, because if you don't keep your code organized and it happened to be a bug in some place, and you review your code and it's not organized in a good way, you'll be frustrated yourself. And so right now we will be talking about communication. You cannot not communicate. Every behavior is kind of communication. It is not possible not to communicate. Actually, Paul was right. It doesn't matter what you do. It is always a form of communication, but it does not mean it's a healthy communication. And that is what we try. That's what we try to do. We try to deliver a healthy communication so we can deliver a healthy web app. So we will be talking about what it means to have a healthy web app, but we will be talking about these forms of communications first. So there is 3 main jobs when it comes to communication. You have a job to communicate with your client, you have a job to communicate with your users, and you have a job to communicate with technologies. So you have to communicate with your client so you can understand what they want. You can understand what is the vision they have. Because after all, your client owns a vision and not a project. It's your job to take that vision and put it into a real project. It's your job to take the idea that the client have into something that you can actually interact with. And therefore you have to create a healthy channel. You have to be patient, because not every client knows what you're talking about. We have to put in mind that not all people have the same mindset that we have. We are developers. We understand how the web works. We understand how the psychology of people works. We understand how the computer works. But that doesn't mean that your client understands. So try to educate them in the process of what you're trying to do. Also, you are creating a channel with your users, and actually this channel is the product. So you are not only creating a channel like from web app to users, you're creating a channel from your client to the users. So you have to maintain a healthy channel between those two elements, and you are the middleware in creating a healthy channel. So try to understand the psychology of your users. Try to figure out their personas. You're not gonna make the same, like you can have the same subject. So for example, you're going to do a website about football, but that website is made for like seniors, and that website is made for people in high school. So these two personas are very, very different, and therefore the design and the interaction between them, it will be different. So you try to keep in mind the people who are going to use this web app, so you can create a healthy communication between the web app and the users, and that means a healthy communication between the users and the clients. And the third thing is to communicate with technologies. And to communicate with technologies, it means not to misuse them, to understand exactly where do we evolve, like where are we, like in which web are we talking to about? Are we in the web 2.0, web 3.0? You might be like, I don't know, the web 5.0. You must always communicate with the technologies. You must always understand what they intend to do. You must always figure out what are you trying to do. One of the questions that you have to ask your client, so you can start shaping your idea, is what we call the 5 W's. What problem we're solving, why does it solve the problem, who is the audience, and where can we improve, and how can we build it. So these 5 W's, they can improve in the interaction with users. So these 5 W's are your answer to create a healthy channel between your client and between your users. So right now, after talking about the communication and talking about the organization, we will be talking about how to actually choose right technology. So this is my 3rd rule. And my professor, Raven Galdell, once said, web apps are living things. It's not as easy as handing the work to the client and be done with it. This mindset is unrealistic and counterproductive. Actually, I don't remember the quote exactly, but this is what I grasped from it. And what he was trying to say here is that it's true that we're creating the web app right now, but this web app has a life cycle. Like, it's not like you're creating right now, but it's going to be used like for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Therefore, you have to keep in mind the evolvement of technology. It does not mean that you're developing for the future. Nope, you're developing for this moment, but you're developing it to continue in the future. So you need to keep in mind the people that are using it. You have to keep in mind the evolvement of the technology and all these kind of things. So one of the things that we try to ask, are we going to work on a row, on a platform, on a framework, and how can we actually choose in a good way? First, you have to see the budget, and if this project is actually realizable, like in terms of money. After all, you're not doing charity, you're doing work. The second thing to see is the needs. What does the client need, and what does the users need? And you have to see the problem. So what are we trying to solve? We have to see the frequency. So when I say the frequency, like for example, if you're going to make a web app that talks about, for example, football, let's say, the frequency of using it will be more like in the football seasons or something like that. But if you're going to do a web app about like a newspaper or a magazine, there's a daily frequency in it. So how much the user will be in interaction with this web app, the evolution of technology, the quantity, like the quantity of information, like the content. How much is it gonna be of content, and of course your audience. Now we'll be passing to talk about the concept. And my fourth rule is design concept. So good design is problem solving, and that is said by Jeffrey Veen. And what does that mean? Good design is the word design itself is a big word. A lot of people think of design as graphic design. That is not the design. Design means structure. Design means good understanding. So we are trying to put the design word in its context. So first we'll be talking about the UX, then we'll be talking about the UI, and then we'll be talking about the graphic design. So when talking about the UX, and which means user experience. So the user experience is how you are going to guarantee the best experience to your users. So the first thing to put in mind that, as we said earlier, personas differ. The users differ. So you need to understand their psychology. You need to understand what they want. You need to understand what they need. For example, one of the things that you need to understand in UX is every page have to be able to deliver an information, to deliver a service, to deliver a product that the user needs. Unnecessary information is bad. Try to keep it simple, but doesn't mean to keep it less. So in the user experience, try to make your user be comfortable in using your web app. So let's say there's something that we always say, the user is lazy. And it's true, like we always try to find the easier way to deal with things, and therefore you have to put that thing in mind. The other thing that I would like to talk about is the UI, which is the user interface. So when it comes to the user interface, and a lot of people mix user interface with the graphic design, but user interface means how to communicate visually with your client, with your users, So let's say that, for example, if you see green button, it usually means to submit. If you see yellow, if you see yellow well, it's usually a warning. If you see red well, it usually means there's an error occurring, or there's something not working in the right way. So you try to create a visual interface that the client will understand subconsciously. They will not have to think about it. When they see it, they know it's wrong, it's right, it's successful, so they can figure out what they're doing. They can figure out they can figure out the result of their interaction with your web application. And that is what the user interface intended to be. And then we have the graphic design. And when we talk about graphic design is innovation. So if we see the UX and the UI by themselves, they create a usable web app. They can create something that the user will not be frustrated in using, but it might be boring. So the graphic design is the soul of your web app. The graphic design will make it fun to use. The graphic design will give this impact on your web app. It will give a personal attachment. So it's something that gives an attachment to your user. If for example, if you're going to make a web app for kids or something like that, so those web apps needs to be fun. They have to have colors in it. There has to be like cool images. There has to be like fun things, so the kids will not be bored. And if you're, for example, creating something for teachers, you would like to put that in the context of teaching and education, but in a very fun way, so they can enjoy the experience. So the UX and the UI makes the experience efficient, and the graphic design makes it fun. It gives a good impact on the soul of your web app. So we talked about pretty much theoretical things or organizational things. So we talked about how to think, we talked about how to organize, we talked about how to communicate, but we did not really talk about how to work. And it is very good to focus on the deliverables, but that does not mean to forget the delivery. So all the things that we talked about earlier are a way are like the first steps, so you can actually find a good road to walk on. It's like you're paving the streets to so your car can go smoothly on it. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is sketching ideas. Paper, pencil, sketchy sketch. So I like this kind of thing. Anyway, I'm being silly. First of all, you have to sketch ideas. You have to understand what the client wants. You have to read the personas, all the other things that we talked about, and then you try to shape ideas in an organized way. And while sketching your ideas, you end up having wireframes of low fidelity. So low fidelity means that are not very there. You cannot really understand it like from a standby view. But for me, as the web developer or the web designer, I can outline the most important functionalities, features, web pages that I would like to have or see in my web app. From that wireframe, I create my prototype, which is a high fidelity, and that means I can give it to other people to test to see if it is usable, if it looks good, if it actually does what it's intended to do, if you actually understood the client in a good way. And then you end up working with the mockup, which is pretty much have the same thing as a prototype. Now, to launch your web app like that rocket, there are two things to understand. Less is more, and simple means one single core idea. Well, what does that mean? Less is more. Well, that's a very good paradox, but it means that try to keep it to the features that the user need. Don't put extra features. Don't put things that the user will see as annoying, unnecessary, frustrating. And simple means one single core idea. That means don't use 100 conceptual ideas in your web app, because that will lead your user to be confused. And at the same time, don't use a partial idea. Just create one simple idea that is pretty much perfect, that goes through all the lines and the outlines that you wanted and that you intended to use for. SEO. Okay. Right now I talked about a lot of things, and I would like to take a break here to talk about something. I seriously don't like how some of the Tunisian developers do their work. A lot of people don't care about their organization. A lot of people don't care about going through from sketching to wireframes to prototyping to mockups, and that is really, really tiring, because I ended up looking through some of the projects, and after seeing some of them, I feel like I really want to kill someone. And that is why I wanted to do this presentation from the first place. So by trying to bring this mindset to some of the Tunisian developers so they can understand the importance of doing all of that before jumping to code, because I've seen people do that all the time. They'll be like, I want a website about my business. Okay, what is your business? My business, I am florist. Okay, I'm going to do everything, and they'll be putting like flowers and about and home and I don't know what, and they don't really understand what the client wants, and then the client is not happy, and they're not happy because they think that the client is interfering with their work. So I'm trying to, I might look like that strict or that bad teacher who complains about, not teacher, I might look like a pessimist person who complains about everything, but I've seen that a lot, and I really, really would love to see people try to understand those three parts that I talked about. And I don't really blame them either, because we don't really study those things in our school system. So they only teach us how to code, and not how to communicate through code. So back to our presentation, we will be talking about the SEO, or the search engine optimization. I am not an expert in SEO, but I know a few things that I'd like to share with you. First of all, I would like to talk about URL structure. So the URL structure is very important when it comes to the SEO, because it makes it easier for search engines to index and to look through different things. Also, when it comes to your sitemap, to understand how the hierarchy of your web app and everything. Your content is king. Your content is a very important part of your web app. So try to give it a good importance. Other things, try to go through the guidelines that they exist on the Google documentation page, or there is also a very good website called Moz, and I already have that website in the last slide. Try to find their trail, and they will make you and they will explain a lot of things. SEO is important because it takes your web app to good rankings, and it makes it more deliverable to people. And things to keep in mind: when now, like, people tend to use phones more than desktops or laptops. So when you go to design, always keep in your mind the phone. Just do your design for the phone first, because the phone doesn't require a lot. Well, it's not like doesn't require a lot, but the phone doesn't like a lot of functionalities or a lot of features that will make it run less or anything. So try to work toward the phone first. The second thing, the typography. It's very important. The type of fonts that you're going to use, the font size, the font weight. Try always to put in mind that the user, what the user wants, or even what is the process. So if you're going to use, for example, something for an enterprise, you're going to use a serif typography. If you're going to use something like a magazine or something, you're going to use more of sans serif typography. So that kind of things. If you're going, for example, to do a website about electronics or something, you might want to put like dates or digits in kind of electronic way. Put in mind grids. The grids are good to use because they help in responsiveness. They help a lot in creating responsive web apps. Think about accessibility, and that's another thing that web developers forget. And frankly, I would like to talk about that for a million years. Not everyone has the same experience with websites because of a certain impairment or because of certain things. Think about people who use what's called screen readers, browser readers. Try to put alts in your images. Try to make it easy for those browsers to read your web app. So try to make it all accessible as much as possible to your users. Try to use good colors. As I said, your content is king, so try to make your content very clear, accessible, informative, descriptive. It will not annoy the people that they're trying to find information. In the end, I would like to say about a few things about the do and the don'ts. Less is more, as we said earlier. Visual for the eyes, but don't forget the rest. So, and here I'm talking about the user experience. And think of details. When I say think of details, sometimes we think that a minor detail is not important, but it is what brings the real experience. So, for example, I can pretty much say one of the things that happened. So we went to a conference one of the times, and it was magnificent. It was amazing. Like the speakers, the people there, the food, and especially the food was delicious. But the transportation was the worst. So all that good experience that we had was blown apart because the driver chose a bad route. Like there was like bumps, and you feel like you're in a tractor or something. And all the joy that we had during the conference was blown away because the driver chose a route that made us feel so uneasy. And like that detail, we will not really think about it. We will not really think about what kind of route that the driver will use, but that detail made that experience not as enjoyable and enjoyable as it should have. And when it comes to the don't be subjective. And I can shout that a million times. Don't be subjective. Because I, for myself, sometimes tend to forget that people don't understand computers, don't understand web the same way I do. The only thing they see is an application, it's a service that they're going to use. They don't understand the work behind it. So they will, if you come to them and be like, oh, this is a web app, and this web app is done with the framework of AngularJS, and I don't know what other frameworks, and it works on I don't know what. Well, they will be like, what? But if you come to them and be like, oh, this web app is about butterflies, and it doesn't need a lot of time to refresh, and it's really easy to use, and it's really beautiful, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we would like to use that. So always keep in mind that people don't understand technicalities the same way you do. Concentrate on research, but don't forget the actual work. It's good to put good communication. It's good to be organized. It's good to put the personas. It's good to work on your prototypes, but always put in mind your code. Always put in mind the now, so you can actually deliver something. And the last thing, don't use Comic Sans font at any cost. Well, web designers don't like Comic Sans for two main reasons. The first reason is because when Comic Sans came the first time, it was used everywhere. It was used like in every single part. It was used in signs. It was used in police reports. It was used everything. It was intended to be for comic books, and that's why it was called Comic Sans. But because people used it in the wrong place at the wrong time, web designers started to hate that font. Like, if you use something more than you intend to be, you just end up hating it. And the other thing about Comic Sans, that it's like, when you look to it in the technical way, it's not well designed, it's not well structured. So when it comes to letters are more spaced apart than other letters. They're not on the same line height. So they don't have the same height when it comes to the letters. So designers don't really like that font. I just don't use it because it's just frustrating. It started to be that annoying thing that you see everywhere. These are some of the examples about bad user experience. So when you see it at first, you say like, oh, this is cool, like I like the colors, it got my attention, and then how can I use this? Seriously, how can you use it? Like, where are, like, how is this really organized? And this makes the user frustrated. So there's like click and drag and arrow keys. Like, it's like the second column, because the whole, like, all the page is designed the same way. You don't really recognize the second column, and you get to be frustrated because you don't understand how to use the website. This is another thing about bad UX. This is the Walmart, which is Grand Surface in the US. I forgot the name in English. Anyway, it's like this big series, this big chain of supermarkets. So the thing here about user experience, first, they use the name FAT. That is not something you call your users potential customers. What are you doing, Walmart? And the second thing, like the first product, that looks like someone who's skinnier than me. You're not even putting things that go according to your insulting description. The second one here, it's called Water the Plants. And I have no idea what this is because it's just a mess. The navigation is a mess. And you really, if you're someone who has enough patience to go through it, you can go through it. The last rule, it talks about authentic design. What does that mean? It means no copycat design. No copycat design. No copycat design. Don't even think a blink about it. Copycat design makes your users less confident about the web app. It's like, oh, I've seen this before. Or, doesn't this look like that kind of web app? And the thing is that developers do copycat design because they think that, oh, this is well tested, or like, oh, that company, that major company is using it, it means that is working. Don't copycat. It's like every entity has their own soul, that has their own personality. You cannot copycat the design because they will not have the same personality. You are trying to deliver, as I said, like the web app is a channel of communication between your users and your client. It is the middleware between them both to come across a certain contract. So try to make that authentic. Try to make that unique. Try to make the users feel a special connection when it comes to the web app that you're going to do. And that's it for the day. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope I did not talk too much. And I'll be here all the time. And the other thing that I would like to say before I forget: be updated. Always be updated. As we said, the technologies like they evolve, and personas research evolve. Like when it comes to web development goes hand in hand with psychology. When you understand the psychologies of your user, you can deliver a better experience to them. So these are some of the things that I personally try to go through, not only to be like they have good tricks in it, they have good informations about it, and of course always Google your things if you feel that something is not going okay. Also, these are some of the resources that I used. There's a blog called 52 Weeks of UX. It's a very, very good blog. Refactoring, actually the website is called, so if you click on it, you'll find the website. And the icons and graphics, some of them, I took them from Slides Carnival. And another website is UX Design Weekly, and everything that I mentioned before. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. And in the end, don't forget about coffee. Don't forget about food. Food is important. Food is very important. And thank you, everyone. Any questions are welcome. These are my email. That's on my LinkedIn. And I hope I did not bore you with my talk and everything. And thank you very much.